How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here with my dad and we are working on the Crossfire. I ordered these new splitter brackets, they're quick release splitter brackets from a company called Race Bred Components, so that you can chassis mount your front splitter. And I've been needing to do this for a while now because in the past my splitter's just been attached to my bumper. You can see the old holes, and it had a ton of splitter rods and those eventually broke. So this will be a much stronger design. So my plan is that I'm going to attach these splitter brackets up below the headlight crash structure. And then that should be pretty secure right here. So it'll go like this kind of. The only thing is that this bracket doesn't come down quite far enough to clear the front bumper. These mounts from the hardware store that will go into the splitter like this, and then attach to the bottom of the brackets like this. This little piece right here is quick release. So you just pull this little pin and then this slides forward like that. So then the reason I'm doing the quick release is so that if the splitter is ever torn off, it won't damage the whole car. And also if I ever need to get the car onto a tow truck like a flatbed, then I can just easily pull off the front splitter and drive it right up. It won't be too low. So now my dad and I measured up the holes, and now we are drilling the holes right in this structure below the headlight.
It's going up one drill bit size at a time.
Yeah. We got the holes finished, and then we put the first part of the bracket on. So you can see it goes through the holes like this. The piece of metal is in between the headlight structure, and then there's another bracket on top to hold it down. Now that this side is completely finished, as you can see, pretty solid. We'll still tighten it down a little more later. So the passenger side is finished. Now we're gonna go ahead and start on the driver's side. We actually noticed that the little brace underneath the headlight on the driver's side is a little bit different from the passenger side. At least it seems like it is, because there's a groove here that kind of points off to the off away from the car, whereas on the other side it just points straight forward. So I just figured out how to attach these brackets to lower the quick release splitter attachment so that it can clear the bumper. I had to drill out slightly bigger holes in the tops of these aluminum brackets. They'll sit right here, right like that. Not quite the highest setting, but one down from there. So then it'll basically be right at the bottom with the front bumper, and I can actually adjust this whenever I want. So if I'm gonna go to a track day, I can lower it a bunch, or I can raise it a bunch if I want to drive on the street, or I can just pull the splitter off really easily if I'm just driving it on the street. So that's how it's gonna look when I have the front bumper and splitter off of the car. If I didn't have these brackets from the hardware store, it wouldn't quite clear the bottom of the front bumper. I will probably get another one of these aluminum front brackets to put right here, but that will require me to cut a little bit of the front bumper. I'll have to cut this little flat part right here, just a little square, not a big deal. If you don't want to cut your front bumper, just go with two, you'll probably be fine if you're not taking it to the track or anything. Now I got the other side in. This is actually looking really, really good. I'll show you the other side. Yeah, that's looking good. This is gonna be really good. So once I come back from a little break, I'm gonna go ahead and figure out where to drill the holes in the splitter itself. And once those are in, I can bolt in the splitter. And then I'm going to figure out what splitter rods I want to buy, what length. I think I want to get some other good high quality quick release ones that I've seen online. So I'll get those ordered. And I think I'll only really need 2 splitter rods up in front, where I had my old bigger ones. That'll bolt right into the crash structure itself. We put the front bumper on and we lined up the front splitter with it, took our measurements, and then we made some markings with like a Sharpie, and then we drilled through, mounted the quick release to the splitter. So this is what this looks like right there. And so we've done this side now. Now we're gonna attach it back to the brackets and then make the markings for the other side and make sure everything lines up. After a long time of measuring and drilling holes. We finally got it all figured out. It took a while, and we realized part of it was just because I'm stupid, and also part of it is because there's a decent amount of play in the bracket right here. We tightened those up, and now we have the splitter on. It's secured in both places. It looks a little loose right now because there's no splitter rods and stuff, and because we are missing these, but it's definitely way more sturdy than it used to be just attached to the front bumper. I'm going to go ahead and put the front bumper back on now so that I can take some measurements for the new splitter rods. All right, so here's what the car looks like with the new chassis mounted splitter and the front bumper back on. I still need to finish bolting down things like the grille and the sides, so it might be hanging down a little bit. I took the measurements for the front splitter rods that I'll need to get. Like I said, I'll be getting some quick release ones from this hole that I've already drilled, or that hole over there, to the hole that I already have drilled in the front crash structure is 1 foot exactly. So I'm gonna get something that has a little bit of adjustment, maybe like 11 to 13 inches of, for the different lengths of the splitter rod. So yeah, I'll be getting the splitter rod, then those extra brackets, and then we'll be good to go. All right, so it's been a few days, and I got the new splitter rods in the mail. Here's what they look like. They're from a company called Diftech. They're really high quality. One of the end of them is quick release, and I'm gonna go ahead and install one end of them into the car and show you what they're gonna look like. So to install the first part of the splitter rods, all you have to do is you take the quick release part, pop it out. Hey, what are you doing? What's up? Hey, you want to help? Okay. And then you have the bottom part of it. No. Well, okay, so far I guess it's at least strong enough for a dog to stand on the front splitter. So you take the front part of the splitter, the bracket, and you take this little bolt out. Then you're gonna put it through the hole that you drill in your splitter. Screw it on. Make sure you tighten it a decent amount. I'll tighten it more later. And this is what it's gonna look like. Make sure you have a decent sized washer so that it doesn't rip through the hole. And then you put the splitter rod over it. You get the quick release pin through the splitter rod. And then now you can see where you want the other end to mount up. So I'm gonna go ahead and mount it right here. Just drill a hole in this little piece coming off of the front crash bar and loop it through. I would drill it right underneath it, but then I wouldn't be able to get this bolt through very easily. And I think it'll look good over here on this side. And that'll give me plenty of space to tighten it up and lower it if I decide to lower the splitter even more in the future. So if you're gonna get splitter rods and attach them in this same spot on the crash bar, just know that this crash bar is a completely different material from where I drilled earlier with the main headlight support chassis brackets. This is steel, and that might have been like aluminum or something else, but this takes a while to go through, so you'll probably need a punch, and then you'll definitely want to start with a very small drill bit. All right, so both holes have now been drilled. It took a while to drill through it because the crash structure is really hard metal, probably steel, I'm sure it is. We made sure to get a couple washers on so that, well, because the thing is, this bolt in the splitter rod is made to go through a thicker thing like an actual splitter, not this tiny thin piece of metal. So I put on an extra washer on each side, and this thing's solid. Like, I mean, this thing's not going anywhere. It's chassis mounted. So I'm really happy with how it turned out. I don't think I'll have to cut my bumper at all for these. I'm just gonna pull these quick release pins out, loop them through the sides of the lower grills, kind of by the fog lights, and then it should attach just fine without cutting the bumper at all. All right, so I got the splitter rods in to both the splitter and the crash structure, and I put the bumper back on. So to put the bumper back on, you're gonna have to detach the quick release mounts right here from the splitter rods and loop the splitter rods through this hole from the lower grill. There's, for the whole lower grill, it's kind of separated into two sections by these clips that hold on the bumper. So you loop it through the right holes for the lower grill on both sides. And then once you loop those through, you are probably going to want to bolt in the front bumper right here on these two top bolts. It is going to be a pretty tight fit if you don't want to cut back your bumper at all. I think it's just kind of tight because it's pressing up against the edge of the bumper right here, top of the splitter rod. So if you maybe cut this out just a little bit, it should be fine. I'm probably going to do that. I don't want to cut this bumper in case I want to sell it at some point, but it's probably just worth it to cut it. So yeah, you'll want to cut that. And then once it's through, like I said, it'll be a tight fit. So you're going to have to kind of wiggle the front bumper around and then attach your screws in the top and these little nuts and bolts in the bottom here, and then all the pieces of the grill and the top two bolts. And yeah, that's pretty much everything. It looks great. I currently have the splitter rods adjusted to the shortest length because I have to drive this car to the track and I don't want it scraping on anything. So once I get to the track, I will increase the length on the splitter rods so that the splitter is pointing downwards a little bit more for more downforce in the front. You also want to remember to reconnect your side markers and fog lights if you are keeping fog lights on the car. And one important thing to not forget is the temperature sensor that goes right here. I'm not going to put my lower grills in right now because I would have to cut them again so that they can go over the splitter rods. I've already cut them once for the old location of my splitter rods that were mounted into the cross structure in kind of a janky way, and I'm not really planning on cutting them again, so I might just drive without them. Yeah, it went pretty well overall. Yeah, thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.